Bang! Neves Knives. I'm Jared, and this is 5 fast knife reviews. Also, in the description, I'm going to link a few videos to Mike EMLER's channel. He just posted a video on a very rare cold steel knife, CIVIVI RIFFLE and the CIVIVI BRAZEN First Impressions. So definitely check those out. I know he'd really appreciate it. And this is the CIVIVI Kiv, I think it's pronounced Kiv. It's K-I-V. It is a little double slip or double detent knife. So if I open it up here, you'll see inside there. Hopefully you guys can see it. There it is. There's 2 detent balls, one on each side, and you can see the little liner right there that pops the detent out. Bang, they pop in, and you can pop it out. Now it does not lock, but those 2 detents equal a very strong detent, and it's a little flipper. You basically use this little section right there to pop it down, and then the double detents lock in place, and it secures it pretty good, but you can pop it out and, to disengage it. I'm not the greatest at popping it all the way down. My hands are just a little large for it to, oh, there, I did it. I just said I wasn't gonna. Well, maybe I'm better at it than I thought, okay? But either way, I'm sure once you get it down, you get it right here and push really hard and you can slab it forward. I guess I'm better at it than I thought. But it is very fidgety and it is very small. However, this is a great little utility blade for an office worker, even somebody who's maybe working in a factory that needs a little razor, because one, it's going to be very easy to carry. I mean, you can 5th pocket carry it, you carry it in a jacket pocket, and the clip, it's got a lot of tension to it. You wouldn't think it would have as much tension as it does. I'm going to show you on this, but it actually has quite a bit of tension. So, which is a good thing because it's a small knife. It's not one you're going to want to lose or pop out of your pocket, which, in this case, it's not going to. So that's awesome. There's nothing in the way, so it's going to slip in and out with nothing, like no screws or anything in place to mess, to mess up the, the clip going in and out of the pocket. T6 is down here, T8 pivot, which I don't mind the T6s in this case because it's such a tiny knife. 9CR 18 MOV steel. Great steel for this little guy. And, you have the jimping right here and on the back. So you're going to be able to do like the little pinch grips. And it's like a little claw. Now, if we look at for sharpening, you might look at this and think, oh, well, that's horrible right there. No, this is great because the plunge grind actually ends like right here. So you have a lot of life to sharpen out of this thing. All this steel it's basically the same thickness that it is going up this way, it is going backwards. So it's going to be awesome to sharpen. It'll get very, very sharp. 9CR gets an incredible edge. And yeah, and also another thing, the Jade G10, they come in different colors, but this is going to, you could dress this up, meaning like you could tie it any color you wanted. There's so many little options you could do with this, to change it to the colors you want. So I think it's pretty cool. It's got an internal, stop pin. So yeah, very awesome. And the tension on the detent, it's got, pretty good resistance, but not so much to where it's going to be hard to, pop it down. Next we have a ZT0562. Now this one was in for sharpening, and I actually want to talk a little bit about that, the steel and the sharpening. But first, let me just talk about the knife really quick. It is a titanium frame lock. It is a Hinder edition or Hinder design. We have 20 CV blade steel, and it's got incredible build quality. A lot of backspacers, big hardware all the way around, even on the lock bar insert. The lock face geometry is really good. It's very solid. Has external stop pins. that lock up right there. So the build on this is really tough, really strong. Nice deep carry clip in the hand, extremely comfortable, even with that deep carry clip. So I like that. I think that's awesome because the one thing with deep carry clips is they don't tend to be the most comfortable in the hand. In this case, it is. And the blade and handle makes sense with the geometry because this is a harder use grind. You know, not saying it's crazy thick behind the edge because it's not. You know, it's relatively good and it's got a pretty tall flat grind. So it's going to cut pretty decent for the grind, but it's still a harder use grind. It's going to be a grind that you can be tough on. So, but it came in for sharpening, and I'll say this, I had to spend a lot of time, and I'm only done with my first stone. I still have to go, I'm going to probably go through 2 more stones, but the edge was very, very inconsistent, but it didn't look like it. I didn't realize until I put it on the stone and took some passes, you know, and really got a nice, flat, even, straight bevel, that I seen that the edge bevel that was on there was all over the place. And it took me quite a while to straighten it out. So now I got it all straightened out, and you can see how nice and flat and nice and straight that edge bevel it is. Might need to wipe it off a little bit. It just came off the stone. But you can see this is a very, very coarse grit. And I know some people would say, well, why didn't you go with a coarser grit? I went with the coarsest grit I had. I mean, it was basically 165 micron, which is like 80 grit, and it's still, now I do consider that one because that's a venev stone. No, it's not as coarse as an 80 grit diamond plate would be. I consider it more like 250, 300 grit, but still, it did take a while. Now this side has a little tiny bit bigger of a bevel that I will straighten up on. It's not by much, so it's almost even from one side to the other, but it is slightly, very slightly larger on this side, which I will straighten out on the next stone. But man, I don't think this is the okay, let me say it like this. The heat treat feels like it was done okay, but I do think it's soft. I don't think this is a high HRC 20 CV at all. I could feel it on the stone. It's another reason why it probably took a while. So I'm guessing it's, you know, a lower HRC 20 CV, you know, 58, 59, maybe something like that. And then, but it's not like it's done bad though. You know, it's hard to explain, but the way it sharpened up, it didn't sharpen up bad. It just took time, and you know, it felt soft. So, but it did deburr. Okay, you know, I don't want to say that either because I did deburr it, even though I gotta go to the next stone. I had a little bit of issues deburring it, but it is what it is. ZT's 20C VM390. I've had some feel really good. I've had some feel very soft. Just kind of, you know, it is what you get. Now I have had good results with Kershaw's M390, which, you know, I don't know, man. You would think it'd be the same thing, but for some reason, maybe I haven't done enough M390 from Kershaw or something, but from what I've done, it's always been okay. But ZT's just seems like it's been across the board, which I know they're the same company. So, you know, I have no idea. The action on this thing is really, really good. These things are about $280, and I like them a lot. I really do. I don't like that the steel feels a little soft on this one, but it's really not horrible. And I wonder, you know, how it's going to be after a couple more edges. You know, it might get into some better quality steel. So, in all reality, the build quality's there. You know, it is a tough knife. I do like the knife. The ergos is great. It's going to cut somewhat decent for a hard use grind. Some people like to possibly do regrinds on these, which is awesome because then they become ultimate slicers. This one I can reverse flick and I can thumb flick off of the thumb studs. Now the thumb studs are a little slick, but you know, once the detent's broken in, you can use them as thumb studs, but they're not made for that. Let's get to the next one because this is taking a little bit more time than I thought it was gonna. Next, we got the Tucson TS251. We have a crazy looking blade shape here. I guess you could call it a clip point. Oh man, I can't think of this blade shape. It's called something. It's kind of like a pirate's blade shape. That's what I kind of think of it as. But it's unique, which I do like. 14C 28M blade steel. We have a titanium frame lock with shred carbon fiber that is done well. It's nice and soft. It is contoured. And then you can see all the milling around the titanium. Very, very nice. And it is heavily milled, which I do like. We have a light milling on the clip that works so good. This is a great clip. You know, some clips from Tucson are hit or miss. This one's definitely hit. It is very good. Lanyard in the back, very comfortable in the hand. It's thinner, you know, and it's not very tall, but it does have that perfect tallness and wideness for comfort. So I do find it to be very comfortable even with the clip, because the clip is kind of contoured itself, so it kind of nestles itself right in your hand pretty comfortably. We have a decent sharpening choil here where you're going to be able to get quite a few sharpenings out of it. The geometry, you know, not the best, but it's not bad either. It's going to work for most people. 90% of people, the geometry is going to be just fine for, even if you are doing a little bit of extended use cutting. So it's just Tucson has been known to be doing these really thin grinds lately. This isn't one of those, but it's average. It's still decent. Now, if we look at the stop pin here, you can see it's got a regular stop pin, decent size for the blade weight. I like to base the stop pins usually off of the weight of the blade, you know, and you know how it's going to lock up and take the abuse over time. Nice lock up, man. This thing is rock solid. No play any directions, and it is fall shut action. Now it is a light detent. I can easily fail it, but also I can 100% reliably flip it without ever misfailing it, and I could do this all day long. So the detent is just fine, but a lot of people would consider it on the lighter side because you can break it and easily fail it. But you see how fast it almost wanted to lock up. See right there? I was kind of trying to fail it right there, but I can fail it though. Detent when you unlock it. Oh yeah, let's go to the lock bar. The lock bar, not the best cutout, but it's easy to get to. It is thin. That's kind of where I was going with it, because you know, it doesn't give you a cutout from the side, but you can easily get to it from the front. It's no problem unlocking this whatsoever. And then the detent ball is nice and early, or relatively early, and it has a ramp. So if it does hit that ramp, you can just swing right past it. But if you hold your thumb in the middle, you're going to be past it anyways, or usually. So action's great. The lockup's great. Geometry's decent. Ergos are good. Clip works great. And you can get these, I'm sure, relatively cheap. These things are not going to be very expensive. I will try to link one below, because it does have that cool look thing going on where it's cool looking. So people, I think, will appreciate a knife that doesn't look like every other knife. And yeah, it is a cool looking knife. Oh yeah, and these ridges, they don't bother you at all. They're smoothed over. They're definitely contoured or chamfered just right where they're not going to bother you. Nice and fall shutty. All right, next we got the Bestech WarWolf. Now, the Bestech WarWolf is in D2. I know a lot of people are sick of D2, but I think in this price range, around $42, it's not that big of a deal. D2 is a great steal for the right price. And Bestech, you know, they don't seem to be doing a horrible job with it. And this is a great knife. I do like this knife quite a bit. One, the detent and flipper tab is very, very nice. This thing has amazing flipping action. The flipper tab is nice and comfortable and contoured and rounded. Once you break that detent, this thing just smacks out. It does have a harpoon blade shape, which aims toward the things you are going after to cut. So if I need to go on the side of a box, bam. If I need to go on the top of the box, bam. Even when I have it in the hammer grip and I'm going to do push cuts, the edge is always leaning towards what you're cutting, which does, in a lot of cases, you know, help. So the cutting performance, even though it doesn't have like extreme slicey geometry, it cuts good, and the tip on it for utility cuts is going to be great. A little bit thicker behind the edge. This one's been sharpened quite a bit, so from the box it's going to definitely have a lot better geometry than this one, but this one's still reasonable. And I mean, you know, I'm not mad at it, and I've sharpened it probably 6 times, if not more. So, and it's still getting it gets a ridiculously sharp edge with that D2. Now, the clip is not deep carry, but it's also very comfortable in the hand, and it works great in and out of the pocket. The liner, easy to get to. Like I said, the action is just really good. So, this is going to be an awesome knife for the WarWolf, by the way. It does have a cool name. So, and you know, this could be somewhat of a self-defense knife on top of being a great EDC knife. Stop pin, decent size, good size stop pin. It's a good knife, man. Solid knife for 42 bucks. Next, we got the Kizer Critical Mini. Now, they did make a titanium version of this, which is the Kizer Critical. CK Knives, let's just say CK Knives. CK Knives makes custom knives, and they have their custom version of the Critical. Now, this is 3V steel. 3V steel is a fantastic steel. And I'll say this, you know, for my review, I talked about, you know, how, you know, this, I like 3V and everything else, but I don't know if this was the best option for this knife, meaning I don't know if you're going to get all the potential out of 3V, because 3V is very tough. But I'll say this thing has held its own, man. Its edge is just held up, man. This thing is still stupid sharp, and you know, I've been using it. It's surprising, not even surprisingly, it's 3V, it should, but I'm very happy with how it's been. The action on it is really, really good. The flipping action is really well tuned. Nice strong detent. Not the most fall shutty, but it's definitely drop shutty. You have great access to the lock bar. Nice and smooth. Good quality micarta. It does have a G10 pivot collar. And the clip is deep carry in... oh, no, it's not inset. I'm sorry. Not inset, but it has flat screws, and the clip works great. Great clip. One complaint, though, is this thing, you know, back here. It's not pokey, but, you know, it's not the most comfortable in the hand, but it's very avoidable. But, yeah. Jimping is okay, but I don't really use it that much. But the comfort just in the grip is pretty good. And especially for like push cuts, man, this thing's awesome. I do like it a lot. And you can get 3V for like $100, guys. 3V and micarta for $100. That's awesome. I mean, we're in a great era to be able to get that. Regular stop pin on this one too. Lockup is very solid. Geometry is really good on the lock face. It snaps in right in place. And yeah, 3V is not going to be the most stainless steel. It's not going to be stainless hardly at all. So you do have to take care of it and make sure you oil it and stuff like that. But it's going to be super tough with great edge retention. So if you're looking for a knife like that, you know, one that you can be a little bit more harder on, this is a great one to look at, man. Like I said, $100. So there you guys go. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.